instigator here.
You what?
It should be her treat because she's the instigator.
I'm the one who plotted all this.
Yeah, you plotted it. That's
did.
wonderful.
She's a
And for
plotter.
that, you should get an honorary degree, but not a piece
Plotting,
of cake.
espionage.
So I have an honorary degree, but I go hungry. What is this now? Can I see?
Oh, it's just what happened in Germany. Note, I have a Arab-made hat I bought in Israel about 10 years ago,
Ah,
and I use it as a. You know that Jews have things called a kippah,
yes.
and so there was a service, and I used the kippah, and then I forgot to take it off
I
for
see.
the lecture.
What sort of cake would you like?
I'll come
You
and
best
have
go
a
and
quick
have
look.
a look.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I mean that's important business. So, right. So you then took a degree in history.
I took my first degree in history, and I was enrolled in history,
Yeah.
and I loved historical writing, but someone said on the second or third term I was at school, they said there's a very remarkable lecturer in sociology, and I didn't even know what the field was. So I went to sit in his classes, and it was absolutely marvelous. His name was Manfred Kuhn, and he taught history on the development of the family in North America. And I sat with him for about 3 months, and I said, that's the area where I'm going to work. And eventually, I was very lucky. I don't know whether this will make sense to you. Two things happened at the same time, almost at the same time. My first wife and I had discovered that we couldn't have children. And so she said, why not adopt? And so we adopted a little girl our first child was a little boy. And the only way you could adopt at that time, in the 1950s, was if you took a child nobody wanted. And so we were called discard parents, and we have absolutely wonderful children. I adopted a little boy of 2. When the lady showed me the picture, I should tell you that I started doing research with this organization in New York. Was it New York? Yeah, right. And I needed a sample of adoptive parents to do the work I wanted to do. And suddenly, at tea time, this lady pulled out a drawer and said, oh, incidentally, look at this little boy. And here was a godforsaken 2-year-old at a tree. And she said, he needs a family. Can you take it home to discuss the picture with your wife? Well, we saw the picture, we said, we'll visit him. And so we both took the train back to New York, and at the agency, here was this little boy of 2.5 playing with toys. And one of the toys was a truck, a metal truck. And when I went down on the floor to play with the truck and him, he took the truck and hit me very hard on the head. And I said, that's the boy. Anyone who will hit me on the head with a toy is somebody who is worth having as a child. And he became absolutely fabulous.
What was his background?
But
What was his background?
he had a Puerto Rican father and a also some two parents who in New York at that time were considered déclassés. And the agency said, you're only a graduate student, you have no money, we can't place a child with you unless you take a child who is not placeable. And so I said, it's a child, is it? And they said, yes, let me show you a picture of a child. And here was a picture of a tree. The tree was God-forsaken and the child was God-forsaken. He stood there like this against the tree. And I said, I've been a boy who felt God-forsaken for years. I think I'll try it. So he came and...
Is this Bill?
His name was Paul originally. Okay. Did you know that?
No.
Peter was Paul.
That's Peter. Oh, okay.
As we know from certain books, there was a Peter was Paul. And so he, at the agency, he was playing with a truck on the floor. And when I went on the floor, he took the truck and hit me on the head. And I said, he's active. He knows where the head is. That's very hopeful, and let's start with each other. So we took him home, and he, on the train to Ithaca, I was still a graduate. I was in my third year for the PhD, and I had no money. And my wife said, it'd be wonderful to have a child finally. So Paul, he was Paul when we arrived by bus at the house, and I said, would you mind if I call you Peter? And you know what he said? He said he got my knee in the bus. He said, Peter, home! That was the first thing Pete said. And he became a marvelous son. I mean, he and I are very close, we are friends, and he has a family, and
That's great.
so he was number one. And after that, there were others.
So did you already tell your maiden early story? Have the maiden early stories been told? Because that's
maiden early.
Would that be too?
Of course, that's our connection.
Right. Roll it out, baby.
When did you come to Maiden Early?
In 1934.
In 1934. So did I. What was the month? We didn't meet there.
I don't think so, no.
But we had a connection.
What month? What month did you arrive?
Well, we should have been there, I can tell you exactly, on the 20th of September, which is when the term started.
The 20th of September, okay. Right, thank you.
My grandfather, mother's father, we lived in Munich, and we went to Berlin. My father died in a motor accident way back in 1930.
Oh, okay.
So mother was running the business and looking after us.
And you came from Munich.
Yes.
And your mother had an art business, right?
My father had the art business, yes. Gallery.
Yes, I'm very interested in that story, so you must tell us.
Well, he came, I think, from a fairly wealthy family in Berlin, and decided to study art, and was sort of apprenticed to a well-known art dealer in New York, and eventually he said, oh well, I'll start my own business, and he took whatever his share of the winnings was from the family, and he opened this gallery in Munich. He had Jewish antecedents. In fact, his uncle, and you might even know it, was one James Seaman. That he's the guy who dug up the Nefertiti
Oh, okay.
in Egypt.
Oh, okay.
He financed that dig.
Fantastic.
Digs.
Simon, wasn't it? It was spelled Simon, like
Yes.
Simon.
You what?
The name was spelled like Simon, but
It was-
in German it was Simon. But
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he dug that up. Unfortunately, he gave it to the German state or the Prussian state.
You found that
Nefertiti.
Nefertiti,
Yes,
the head of the queen.
yes. Head of the queen.
Yes.
Yes. Anyhow,
Fabulous.
that's his, and he was also actually a German cavalry officer in the First War. Horseman. But immediately when the war was over, he went straight off to Paris to buy paintings.
Oh.
You know,
Okay.
impressionist paintings.
Okay. Nice.
For which he spent the night in a Paris jail.
Oh, no.
This German officer.
Oh, dear.
Well, I don't think it was serious, but nevertheless,
He spent the night in the jail because of it was so recently after the end of the war. They assumed he was like.
well, the war only finished on the 11th of November, and I think by the 15th or something he was in Paris.
Wow. Wow.
You know.
That's
So
funny.
your father found Nefertiti?
No. His uncle. His mother's.
uncle.
His mother's. brother.
What a story! What amazing!
But
You know the head of this queen, the Egyptian queen.
And
Yeah,
what,
but I don't want to divert off on the Queen.
what was the name of the art gallery in Munich that your
it
father
was
had?
Gallery Caspari.
Cabali?
Gallery.
Gallery. Oh, okay. Gallery.
It was It was a Caspari name.
Yeah.
I see.
So Caspari doesn't, to my ignorant ear, sound like a German name, is it? It sounds Italian, but it's actually a German name?
We don't know where it came from.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's embarrassing when I go to Italy. Well, you sign into an Italian
Right,
hotel
right.
with that name. They
Right.
expect you to be able to say yes or no.
That's funny.
But anyhow, we were delayed arriving at Maiden Early.
Right.
I don't know how Mother. I think she interviewed Gabbitas and Singh.
Yes.
Interviewed who?
Had a look at a few schools.
Interviewed?
School
Their
placement agency.
educational agents. And anyhow,
I'm
for
going
some
there
reason
tomorrow.
she must have charmed
Nice.
Fox because he took us. We were completely out of the age range.
You were too young, usually? Or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, in the school, I was 11. I was too young, and my brother was only 8.
He was way too young. The school usually was 15, 14?
Well, you'd be 14 usually, common
Okay.
entrance,
But
13, 14.
I'm surprised that the school had that young children. I didn't know that.
They didn't.
Yeah. His
We
mother.
were by far the youngest. They didn't start till 13 or 14.
Exactly.
But his mother charmed the director? The director.
The headmaster.
The headmaster?
That's Captain Fox.
Captain Fox.
And he was marvelous. I mean, in the early years, you see, this 34. Christmas 34, we went back to Munich for Christmas. And
Wow.
we were backwards and forwards, probably in 35 and 36 as well.
Really? Wow.
Mother used to come to England. I mean, she was dealing internationally in art, and sadly, she, you know, I suppose she was a prominent person in Munich.
Probably,
And,
huh?
well, I know she was because one of these holidays she took us to the opera, and it was like a royal progress.
Everybody came to greet her. Yeah.
All the attendants,
Nice.
blah blah blah.
Nice.
Everybody knew her.
Nice.
So somehow she thought she was safe. At the end, she wasn't, of course. She was murdered like so many.
Your mother was murdered
Yes.
in Germany.
Yes.
What was the year?
I think 38 or beginning of 39.
So she thought she could survive that.
She thought she could survive it. She didn't want her children there, because she said there is not an education for children, so she moved us out. But she kept going back.
Yeah.
Did you find this out after the war, or did you know it when it happened?
Well, one didn't know.
Did you have a regular mail correspondence? Was there mail between? Like, did you send letters and that? Did you send letters from school home?
Yes, not a lot.
Not a lot.
You know, school was all absorbing.
Of course. Was your mother Jewish?
She had Jewish, Jewish ancestors too. You didn't have to be Jewish.
No, but no. Was she, from a Nazi point of view, was she a Jew?
Yes.
That's all I mean.
Yes.
That's all I mean. I don't mean religion. So she thought she could survive in Germany.
Well, it's difficult to know. You see, it's all very well. Although
You weren't there, right? You didn't.
she moved backwards and forwards quite freely. It wasn't easy to settle in England or anywhere else as well.
It wasn't easy to
settle.
settle.
Settle, live, move to.
I don't know what you mean. It wasn't easy for her to.
You couldn't come and work in England.
Oh, it wasn't easy for her to get to England.
Yes,
Couldn't get a
permanently.
Oh, okay.
permanently.
She could you'd send the kids,
Couldn't
but you
get a
couldn't.
work
My
permit.
father
I
couldn't
got
get
you.
a work permit.
Right,
That's why
right.
I went to America.
Right. Right,
all
but
wanted
you could
to
go
stay
because it
in
was like a
England.
student visa, right? That you're not expected to stay, right? I got
Yes.
you. Okay.
Well,
okay.
you know, now we have all the vagabonds of the world here, but
Sure, yeah.
it wasn't like that.
Then, yeah. So you didn't even know that she had been murdered until pretty far after the fact?
Not till after the war, really.
Yeah.
Really?
Because you could have been hoping that maybe she was still a survivor, right? Yeah.
Did she die in a camp?
Were you able to confirm that she died? Her name was on a list somewhere?
It's all catalogued. I mean,
Yeah.
there's one thing about the Nazis,
Right, they
keep
kept
good
track.
records.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Incredible records. Actually.
Yeah. Bizarre records, like exactly how many teeth they stole and hair they cut, and freaky records. Yeah.
Every movement.
Yeah.
Horrendous. But the school was marvellous.
So you got there what month then? In November you made it out there?
No, October.
In October, okay.
And because one of the rules was, because there were people of different nationalities, as you would have known.
She was what?
Some Dutch and 2 or 3 German-speaking people. Certainly a couple of French that I knew, some Romanians, as you know. But there was only one language that was supposed to be spoken, which was English. Everybody learned English. Everything happened in English. And actually by the time, this is why I'm so clear about this October date, because it wasn't long before Christmas, really. But by the time we went back to Munich for Christmas, my brother and I were in fact communicating with each other in English.
Oh, how interesting. Wow.
You know, it's as quick and easy as that.
Yeah.
If
you start young enough, yeah.
if you start young enough,
Yeah.
and if you don't,
It's immersion.
not
it's
encouraged
immersion,
to,
yeah.
not allowed to relapse.
Right, right.
And tell David about Captain Fox and how you.
Captain Fox, to me, was a hero. He was a hero to me.
Yeah.
You know,
He took a father figure. He became a father figure for you.
Yeah. And interestingly, you may not know when the war started, there was a great campaign to intern aliens. The Americans did it. They
Right.
interned all the Japs.
Right.
No, all Germans were put onto an island.
The Isle of Man, yes.
Isle of Man, yeah.
And of course, I shall never know what really happened, but the police came, you know,
To collect
to
you.
pick us up.
Right.
Yeah. And because these were different days, then they picked up one German boy, I do know, and I mean, he was a Nazi.
What was his name?
Herzberg.
Herzberg.
He was at Maiden Early also? He was at the school?
Yes, but they took him away. But Fox obviously must have said, you know, I'm in loco parentis for these
These two, yeah.
and he just wouldn't let us go. And because in those days, you know, he was a big man in the district,
Right,
and
yeah.
no local policeman would
Defy him.
say him.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I would like to. I didn't hear the older fellow. Was that the German?
Yes, but I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't a Nazi. I think he was Jewish.
Probably.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Of Herzberg.
Because everybody went to
Caspari.
church parade, so I don't know what he was.
Everybody went to church, right, okay, yeah.
But Paul, what happened to me there was that there was somebody who made Nazi type, or what I interpreted to be Nazi type remarks. You know the story of what happened about the book that I left at Fox's daughter's apartment. What was her name? You remember her name?
Beryl, yes.
Beryl.
Beryl.
Belle. And Belle used to invite two boys
I'm sorry,
before school
Bell
started.
or
Beryl. B-E-R-Y-L.
Beryl.
Barrow, right, that's right. Barrow Fox. And she must have been 18 or 19 at the time I came there, and I was 16. And classes had not yet started. And every afternoon she made a tea for two of the boys who were sort of floating around and had nothing yet to do. And one day I was invited with another boy to have tea at Barrow's flat. And she was very sweet to him. And I had a poetry book in my pocket, which I was trying to learn because my English was still weak. And I showed it to her, and then I forgot it there. Later people said to me it must have been a Freudian forgetting,
Slip,
but
yeah.
I think I really just forgot the book. And she sent a message to me saying, you can pick it up in the morning before breakfast. You know the story? No. So I, before breakfast, went up to her room on the second floor,
I know exactly. Yeah.
and
Nice.
and she said, "Don't open the door, Wyatt. I'll hand you the book in a few minutes. Just wait." And I opened the door about 4 inches, and there was a mirror. And over here, she was putting on her bra. And I came from a family without girls. Female breasts were things you saw in a magazine. And here it was the real McCoy. And let me tell you, in the mirror there, I saw the barrels, and she was quite well shaped. And so I said, God. And she passed the book to me, and I raced downstairs to breakfast. Well, I mean, I was 16. A semi-naked girl was a piece of adventure, and I would share it with the other boys.
Oh dear.
And I thought, but I didn't know the boy who was sitting opposite me. He was a new boy. So I told a story about Barrow's dress, and he took out a piece of paper and wrote a note, and he shoved it over to me. And when I saw it, it was in German, but he said, Judenschwein, nochmals was und du bist tot. Something like that again, and you'll be a dead man. And I thought, oh my God, I've come to England, I fled from Germany, what am I going to do now? And luckily, there was a German boy who had arrived a week before from Hamburg, Gerhard Hirschfeld. And I rushed Hirschfeld. Does that name ring a bell? No. So I went over to him and I said, Gerhard, I have to talk to you. So we went quietly to the dormitory, and I told him what happened, and he said, no, da können wir es hier nicht machen. You'll never make it here. So we both went to the telephone. I called my aunt in London. She said, pack a small bag, come for the weekend. We asked Captain Fox if we could go for a few days to visit my aunt. I said, she is sick. She would like to see us.
But you didn't tell him about the Nazi boy.
No, of course not. And no, I mean, at that point, would I talk about his daughter and the book? No.
No.
And,
Okay. Right,
and
okay,
so
okay.
we went, the two of us went to London to Aunt Anna, and Aunt Anna said, go to London to an office where there are booklets about private schools. You may want to look at that. And Gerhard and I found the catalog for St. Christopher's School, and it was absolutely exactly what we wanted, except for two things that were problematic. One was that the school was vegetarian, and the happy part was that there were girls. So I said, well, I can put up with vegetarian if the girls are nice. So we called the headmaster, and he said, why don't you take the train and come and have a meal tomorrow, Sunday, and tell the kids who are there, that these were boarders, and there were also day students. So tell the boarders about your experience at Maiden Early and why you want to come to St. Christopher's School. So we did, and we got a standing ovation from the kids. That was the first and only standing ovation we ever got at St. Christopher's School, but it was a great place. And so we applied there, and the headmaster at Maiden Early was very kind. When he heard what happened, I didn't tell him about the daughter, but I said, there is a Nazi here, and this would be terrible. And so he said, I will talk to the board to see if they will release the money, because money was very short, and our parents
will have paid. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So they released the money in a week, and Gerhard and I both went to St. Christopher's School. And that's the end of the story.
But you never told the name of the German, of the Nazi, to Captain Fox? And you don't remember?
No.
Did you even know it? I mean, you didn't even know that boy,
I
right?
did tell him, I think, I don't remember well enough, but I think I mentioned that there was a German here and that I was afraid. Mm-hmm. I didn't say he was a Nazi. I didn't say they had threatened me, because I figured it's troublesome enough that I want to leave.
Yeah.
I don't want to make more trouble for
Yeah, he might have thought you were just being ultra paranoid, you know? I mean,
Perfect possible.
yeah, if he didn't know the details.
Right, right.
And I didn't talk about the daughter. I didn't talk about the
And
book.
David, was that in September then? Was that in September?
No, it was earlier in the year.
Oh, it was before school started. It was like August or.
School started in around April.
It was the spring break. I think you started
Spring
in the
break,
start of
right,
the summer
right.
term, you
But
know.
this would have been in 1934.
Yeah, but in the spring. So
Oh,
it was,
okay.
there are 3 terms. There's the autumn term
Okay.
and the winter term and the
Okay.
But the fact is, you were there and you found it to be a good place.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Do you know who this boy could be that David ran into? Was there?
No, it could have been anything.
Yeah.
You know.
And you know, even the fact that here is a German boy, and I tell a story about a girl, and he may have said or written something like, if I were you, I'd keep my mouth shut, about something like this.
Yeah.
Which
Right.
you should have done, of course.
You know, it may not have been a threat at all,
Right.
but it was a German.
You were like
and
hair
I
trigger.
I was getting out of Germany, and I think your paranoia notion is not unwarranted. I'm sure that I was scared, I was upset, and here I find a German, and he may have written, if I were you, I wouldn't talk like that. Who knows what he said?
I think Jews, like, you know, if there is any kind of like evolution or selection, Jews have been selected for paranoia because all the Jews that weren't paranoid have been killed off, you know, somewhere. If you didn't think your government was going to come kill you, you got killed, right? So it's the only Jews that, you know, at this point, there's been a kind of a like a selective breeding for a paranoid Jews program, you know, inadvertently.
Yes, yes.
You know, it's been many years ago. I have no idea what he really said to me. What I've created in my mind was an inimical step. It may not have been at all, but I saw it as a threat.
Maybe he had his eye on the girl. Maybe he had his eye on the girl, and you were interloping.
He may be friendly with her. you see.
Yeah.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Yeah.
Anything is possible.
She always had a few of the boys, the senior boys, that, you know, got
Special treatment.
Gave tea to
Yeah.
her. No,
Nice.
I mean, she was almost the same generation as the senior boys.
Right.
And she invited 2 boys at a time to tea.
Yeah,
You
it's
remember
very
that?
thoughtful.
And,
Really.
I believe I was never part of this, although no, I wasn't really ever part of her set.
Entourage.
No, you were younger.
I was that much younger, and I don't think I won't go into the girl scene.
But I'm 16. I'm 16.
Yes.
I call this gonad time. And
What time?
I call it gonad.
Oh, right. Yes.
When you wake up,
That's right.
and hear girls, and my God, I see a girl with breasts.
I wonder if she was exposing herself.
Right. On purpose. Right.
I still wonder if she did it on purpose.
Right.
Who?
Beryl.
Well, look, that has been suggested, but I believe in innocence. I believe there is true innocence in people.
I don't think there were enough boys about for her to
Exactly.
pick on him.
You didn't need.
Oh. I've seen pictures of him from that period. He was a bit of a looker back then. There.
No,
He was
but
a
I
bit
think
of
he
a-
was 16. There were
Yeah,
17,
you'd think,
18-year-olds.
She'd find a guy with a
I was a
job.
potential lecturer.
A would-be lecturer.
Would be. No such luck, eh?
such
shame.
Well, something sure scared you. Yeah.
So how?
Can we go back to
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
I was there.
Tell me more about the school and what you experienced there.
Well, there was it was, you know, boarding school. To me was great. I loved it, and one was kept busy morning, noon, and night. And I spent, cause by 38, 39, I spent holidays there, and in fact, this led to my first job. And I'm still trying to work out whether my first job was in 1940 or 41, because
So wait, so you graduated? Did you graduate then?
I did my matriculation.
At Maiden Early.
I would have, if things had been different, you know, I would have gone on to probably Oxford, because Fox had,
Connections.
you know,
yeah,
a number,
yeah.
you know, number of given places,
yeah.
and I had done well.
Okay.
He passed the necessary tests.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes, a bit more than that. I mean, I had done pretty well.
And so this was in 38, 39?
39.
I think it was in the summer of 38.
38, okay.
I think it was. But in the summer of either 1940 or 41, and I cannot tell, I was living at school because I had nowhere to go.
And no money. And no
And
money.
no money.
But you had matriculated. You had matriculated.
Oh, yes.
Oh, but you couldn't work in England because you were not a British citizen, right?
Well, it was the war. And anyhow, I was quite young, you see, really. And there certainly was no money to go up to Oxford.
Right.
But something that wasn't usual, but Fox, to get some money, extra money in, and I mean, Maiden Early is a very lovely place with a pool and tennis courts and everything, riding school on the, you know, on the side. Anyhow, he threw it open.
But you were the one writing the book about it.
He threw it open. Hold on. Yeah.
Yeah.
He threw it
Threw
open.
to as a sort of holiday camp for paying guests.
Ah, okay,
in
that
the
makes
summer,
sense. Yeah,
while there
to
were
make a
no
few extra
boys there.
dollars. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Clever. Good idea.
Fox didn't really like these people, you know. And I mean, the guy who ran it actually was a Labour MP. So that in itself.
What
would
does
have
that?
been
What does
enough.
that mean? What does
He
that mean?
was
The right sort.
a left.
A left guy. Oh, okay.
Left-wing MP, you know.
Okay.
Not.
And he ran the summer camp.
He got his gang of friends together. Yes, I think he probably did the financial thing. He may have made some money on the way or not. Anyhow,
We'll just show this way.
the butler was left there. I was left there, and there was that amount of obviously kitchen staff and whatever. But it was left to the butler, Harry, and me to run this show. You know, suddenly you've got 40 or 50 people in who. And Fox retired. He didn't want anything to do with this, you know. He wanted their filthy money, but he didn't really want to be
To deal with them.
socialised.
Yeah.
with
Okay. All right.
Taking in
which I
guests.
can understand.
Yeah.
And one of the guests there was one Ellis Beasley, who
Ellis Beasley. Beasley.
no consequence the name in part of the story, but it was to me because he offered me a job. And I mean, I was not going to university. I was really, you know, living at school on more or less false pretenses.
Right.
I couldn't do the first university exam at school, so I wasn't totally idle. But I started work for Ellis. Ellis became a very good friend both to me and to Marietta. We spent Christmases with his family and all sorts of things.
And where's your brother in this now?
He was still at school.
He was still at school. Oh, okay.
He was
Because he was younger. Okay, right.
He eventually went to a veterinary college and became a vet.
Okay. And stayed in England.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes, he's still in England.
Okay. So I'm sorry. So you're working for Beasley doing what?
Beasley had bought, it's quite a nice story actually, he bought a village post office and shop, which again is the concept. Small post offices are really located, or certainly were, still are, in little grocery shops, little local.
Absolutely. I'll take you to one tomorrow.
Okay.
I used to buy my candy there.
If it's still there,
All right.
it'll now almost certainly be owned by some Indians.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Mouse
Yeah.
bars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, he had this, and it of course it helped because we had rationing, and you know, if you've got a shop with all the tins and the hams,
Right.
I mean, you've got enough for your family anyhow.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
And anyhow, we bought that, and my first few weeks was sitting in the back room of that shop, adding up money in books
Ah, okay. All right.
for his business.
Okay.
And this was pound, shillings, and pence.
Oh, so crazy edition, wacky, like 12 of these and all that. Yeah.
Long columns,
Yeah.
because everybody was too busy to actually do this. He had a factory. In fact, he had two, but I'll only talk about the one in Slough, which was.
So did he make you do the bookkeeping?
No. He employed me to catch up on something that had been neglected and that wasn't important in the daily running of the business.
Right.
The reason was these columns were actually dispatches to Woolworths stores. Now Woolworths must be a concept to you. I think they still
Woolworths,
exist in America, and they were very big in England. And the factory that he owned, and I worked in his office as his assistant and learned the business, was actually cutting shoe soles out of hides of leather,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
which was a very big business.
Yeah. Huh.
Because Woolworths sold these shoe soles. Woolworths only sold things at 3 pence or 6 pence. There were only two prices in Woolworths. So they may even at times have split the pair to have two, you know.
To have one for
that
4.5?
People, so that to fit them into the price bracket. Nothing could be more than 6 pence, but you could buy one sole for 6 pence. The right foot and the left foot.
Oh,
for
one
6
sole,
pence.
like one shoe or one
No,
sole?
it's a sole. This was for the repair business.
Oh, okay.
You see, this was long
Oh,
before
okay.
we had rubber soles
Oh,
or
okay,
ending
okay.
on shoes.
Okay.
It was a huge business.
To repair
because all
shoes.
the unemployed and so on.
Didn't buy new shoes, right? They fixed their
couldn't
old
buy
ones.
new shoes.
Yeah.
Nobody bought new shoes.
You had a hole in your shoe,
Right.
and this shoe.
Right.
I'm going to use German now.
Ja.
Da klebte man das drauf.
Ja, oder die genagelt oder geklebt.
Or sewed it, or put in wooden pegs.
Yeah.
Did you put wooden?
No. Little tags.
Little metal
Oh,
tacks.
little nails?
Metal tacks. Yeah. So this was a business of
and
the
most
soul.
of the business
Yeah.
at that time was for the army.
Oh, okay.
Because
Okay,
when you're
right.
cutting a big hide of leather,
Right.
you
And
get
how
all
many
sorts.
soles?
You get the thick stuff,
Right.
which you could use for the army.
Boots. Oh,
If
interesting.
it was too thick, you didn't get any more money for it, so you tried not to buy
Really
quite
thick.
skilled. I mean, we had,
Huh.
a lot of tan yards in England, and I was allowed to buy this leather. I mean, allowed to spend a lot of money actually.
Yeah.
And it was a highly skilled job because you would cut some men's, you would cut some army, then you might cut some thin men's, then you would cut some ladies, then you would cut some children's, and then you'd cut some slippers, all out of the same hide.
They were that big? They were that big? These are huge cows?
A hide, well, yes.
How many pairs could you get out of a cow? So how many?
Well, what did they weigh? 16 pounds was usually a weight. I mean, you bought 14 to 16 pound hides, or 16 to 18 pound hides. You know, it was.
So I'm trying to imagine how many pairs of. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Sorry.
No.
Sorry. Anyway.
The guys who cut them. There were two kinds of machine, and it was highly skilled.
They used a machine to cut them.
Oh yes.
And the hides were rigid. The hides were rigid.
Like a biscuit press.
And the hides were rigid. The hides were dried and rigid.
They were. Yes, the hides were rigid.
Rigid.
Yes.
Okay.
These are pieces of leather.
Yes.
They're big pieces of leather.
Yes. Okay.
And anyhow, I got to learn this business.
So you got to cruise around England buying cowhides?
No, didn't cut those. You bought them over the phone.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
want more tea?
No, wait.
No, it was very interesting because you had to sort
plenty,
them.
but
They went through a grading process,
Are you sure?
a sorting process, and then you tacked a pair together who had to be
Matched
the same
well enough.
thickness.
Yeah.
And it was quite a.
So how long did you do? Yeah. How long did you do that?
Well, I worked there till 1946 for very little money. And Ellis was, he taught me all you need to know about business and stock keeping and costing control and so on. I mean, after I'd been there for I don't know, 3 months, I can't tell you how long. I asked him for some more money because I was getting very much.
Right.
And I got a terrible telling, one of the worst tellings off I've ever had in my life.
Oh, wow.
And why? I'll tell you why. And this, people don't believe it when I tell this story to young people. Sheets of postage stamps came in 120s or 240s or whatever, and we had a postbook. Every letter that went out had to be entered. And Ellis Beasley used to balance the postbook. 200 letters went out, 200 stamps had to be used, no more, no less. But I had sometimes been involved in sticking these stamps on the letters. And I had torn some this way off the bottom and some that way upwards.
So it was hard to balance, right? Because
So
you couldn't just do the
work it
rows.
out,
Yeah.
So I got told off. I didn't get any more money. But so that was the regime.
That's pretty good.
But on the other hand, he was
It was like
very good
an apprenticeship,
friend to me.
right? It was like an apprenticeship.
I never earned. Don't think I ever earned more than £2 a week there. I was there till 1946, so I was trying to work out whether I was there for 5 years or 6 years. I don't know.
Were you still living at Maiden Early all that time?
No, for some of that time I was. Then I moved to Slough, to be nearer the work. Nearer to London too. I had a girlfriend in London at that time. But I never earned any real money. But I will say, when I said, well, I'm leaving, they very nice, sent me away with a cheque for £100,
Oh,
which was
huge, right? For £2 a week, that's a year's salary, right?
it
Yeah.
was a huge,
Wow.
a huge present. And in fact, well, this is the next story. That I was hired to do something else. I failed totally.
Hired by someone in London, or hired by well,
Well, I was. There was.
I didn't hear your question properly.
I just hired to do. I just want the next story.
I was. Well, there were 3 or 4 people who all had their own businesses. You know, fairly well-off people, and one of them had a patent for something that you may relate to or not, which was a permanent wave.
Oh,
Those
for your
people
hair.
had-
Yeah.
And you didn't need curlers, and you didn't need a machine. You had a liquid that would set your curls. And I was hired to get this off the ground, you know,
Okay.
at, I remember well, £5 a week.
Oh, huge raise, right?
Huge, yes.
Big man on campus.
Yes. But I failed because this was 1946.
No one had any money to permanently wave their hair.
No, there was money in the business. I mean, I had, I think, £1,000 to play with. Some of my £100 went into a few shares of this business anyhow. But what we had overlooked was you had to have bottles to put this stuff into. And as we, as a company, had not made cosmetics before the war, we could not get a license to buy bottles. Now, this was regulated England. You know, this is what we're going back to if we're not careful here. You'll get it too with your
You couldn't buy bottles
You couldn't buy bottles, no. You couldn't buy
because
anything.
because there weren't enough bottles to go around, or
On the whole, what they really tried to do is to get the firms that had been doing things before the
back
war
on their feet first.
to be able to continue. And there
Yeah.
had probably been no bottles during the war. They'd
Right.
probably all been in the war effort.
Right, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
anyhow, I could not get bottles. So I could not get this off the ground.
Oh,
And so one of the people had a few connections in various businesses. He said, "No, you'll have to go and buy." He gave me an introduction so that some of these factories would sell me a bit of stuff. They were doing me a favour, to sell me.
yeah.
And I dealt in everything. I found the stock book the other day.
Did you find bottles? And did you
powder
find?
compacts,
Yeah.
cigarette lighters, tea cozies, cake trays, and standard lamps. There was a factory that had metal rods, and these were painted, and the little metal scrolls at the
feet that
bottom,
held them
so
up,
these suddenly became a lamp. But to get the, this is really a different story, but I walked one of these up and down Oxford Street.
The
a
lamp?
long way.
The lamp?
And there were a lot of furniture stores and so on.
Everybody wanted to buy them? No.
Nobody wants to buy them.
Oh.
Nobody wants to buy them. But my last call, at the end, was at Littlewood's change stores.
Oh, what kind of store?
Littlewood, it's a chain.
It was a chain like Woolworths,
Oh, okay.
but with like Woolworths or much
Okay.
expensive, but with
You know the
slightly
store?
higher prices.
You have no
Littlewood.
chain store?
No,
Littleworth.
Littleworth.
Littleworth is the name.
Yes.
What was his name?
Littleworth.
Littleworth.
Littleworth?
Like something of Little Worth. Little Woods?
Woods.
Oh,
Little
Littlewood.
Woods. Little Woods.
Woolworth.
Little Wood. Little Wood.
They had 30 or 40 stores.
Okay.
I walked in there with this
things.
I never forget this carting this bloody lamps.
Yeah.
That thing. The
Light it
guy,
down for me. I couldn't catch it.
the guy.
Light it on anyway.
Yeah, good.
Little word.
Little wood.
Nobody would do it.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody would, no buyer would do it now, but he opened his big pad and he ordered
Littlewood.
a few hundred of these.
There was this was a store or a chain
of
stores for
variety
little
stores.
Department
I don't
stores.
remember that.
So, but why
Variety
would
stores, they no longer exist, I don't think.
obviously the men made questionable decisions? Obviously the management made questionable decisions.
No, the management made a marvelous decision.
Did people buy the lamps?
Oh yes, I had to send them out all over England to these stores. Now there are various snags to this story because the factory made these things and they looked quite pretty. They were sprayed in different colours and so on. But I had no lamp holders to put the bulb in.
Oh dear.
Well, this is the next part. What I had to do was find out from the Woolworth store managers when the next consignment of these holders would come in. And I would get 36 here and 48 there, and 60 here, you know, to assemble these things. And we started, obviously it was cheap. They had a store in Oxford Street, so that was cheap. And Brixton, you will know, that was cheap. The poor Belfast store never got theirs because by the time I'd got to Belfast, which was more expensive to send, Oxford Street wanted some more. They were highly successful.
Oh good, okay. The lamps.
However, this
So why did the furniture stores not see the potential? I mean, why did they all turn you down until this last shot?
because on the whole, you got turned down if they didn't know you.
Oh, okay. Oh,
If I'd
okay.
if I'd gone around with the same thing in a different colour a week later,
Then they would have recognized you.
they would have
Right.
recognized me and they would
Okay.
have given me an order. It's as simple as that.
I
you
got
know.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Because you could have been
He
some
ended up
shady
in
character.
the toy business, I think.
well, the toy business was excellent. So I had this variety of rubbish, you know. Wonderful. I've got it all in the book. And amongst it were one or two toys. But again, you see, if you didn't have a toy quota to buy toys, you couldn't buy toys. But there
You
were
didn't have a toy
Quota.
quota.
I hadn't
Oh, okay.
sold
Thank you.
toys before the war.
Right.
But
Okay.
there were one or two people, you know, you do. There are always people who help you on the way.
Okay.
So there was a agent in Leeds, Jewish man, Mr. Mimble, and he employed 6 travellers, commercial travellers, people who went around in department stores selling stuff, right? Now, if you sent Mr. Mimble 6 samples, he would dish one out to each of his travellers.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
these travellers would go around with many cases of samples, and I don't know, Mendel would charge me 10% for
Pass through. Yeah.
that was no, I would pay him 10%, and he would give the traveller 7.5. You see, I mean, so that.
So he got to keep the difference.
And the poor people who bought this stuff never knew who it was coming from. You know, they said,
Right.
Mr. Mendels's order form, but he split it up.
Okay.
He had a very nice secretary. It was all split up.
Okay.
And I got to know one of these guys, and he said, you know, Paul, time was marching on, and things were becoming that little bit easier. He said, look, I've got a handbag firm that does nothing else. They've got a good range. You send me 2 handbags. That's no good to me. And you send me 2 power contacts. I've got an agency or one of the factories. I've got 20 different powder contacts from him, and so on. So I was not useful to him, but he was a nice guy. And he said, the one thing you've got that I haven't got enough of are toys, which then steered me
into the toy business.
into toys, and this other stuff fell by the wayside.
Right.
But
And then it went on from there, I think. Didn't
Yes,
it? Yes.
went
yeah.
on from there, but very slow, because cigarette lighters were a big thing. Automatic cigarette lighters, you know, like the Ronson lighter used to be. Well, I had a firm here in Baker Street, and I was allowed to buy 144 of these every week. They were quite small. I had to pay for them when I got them.
But you were going to resell
But you
them.
sold them.
Yeah.
Well, what I did was,
Or you gave them
I
away
didn't
as
have a
promotional
car.
items.
I didn't have a car or anything. I got on the bus. I took them down to Selfridges to the tobacco kiosk.
Oh, okay,
They
okay.
bought a lot,
Right, right.
and I got my money within 7 days.
Sorry.
But then the firm said, we can let you have
200.
2 bursts or
Yeah, whatever,
288
some more. Yeah, okay.
But I didn't have the money,
To pay for it up front. Yeah.
so I wanted to borrow a few £100 for the bank. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. So I swore there and then that I would never borrow money from the bank.
Okay.
And so it took me a long time to grow the business.
But you grew it debt free, which is
But
is
free,
also
always free
good.
of debt.
Yeah.
And you know, it was a sanity lesson.
A what lesson?
A good lesson.
A sanity. What did you
Over
call
the
it? A
years,
sanity
all
lesson?
these people dropped out, and they were good to me. I mean, I had to pay them out, but I didn't have to pay them a fortune or anything.
Oh, you took on partners.
So, well, no, the 3 or 4 people who started the business, I mean, they each owned a share.
Oh, I didn't miss that part. There's 4 people started the business
The
back.
people who had the patent for the hair stuff.
Oh,
you
okay,
see,
okay.
Going back to that.
Oh, okay. So even though that one didn't work, the 4 people eventually all were
Well,
successful.
their money was still stuck in this company.
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
I was able to
rebuild
they
it
were
into
very good
something.
over the years.
okay, okay.
Acquire the whole company.
Oh,
The only
okay.
person who lent me some money was Claude Mellon.
Oh. And you don't remember Claude Meller. He wouldn't remember him, no, from the school.
He was the second in command at Baden Early, but you possibly.
Mr. Meller, Mellor. Meller.
Well, he was.
I don't know nobody about that. I wasn't there long enough.
To remember the names. That's the
So Claude was very good to me.
That's St. Christopher.
No. It's
No?
made in early. It's made in early.
Oh, that's made in early. It looks so much
Claude only
like
died
the
a few
playing
years
field.
ago.
And when you first showed it to me, the only thing
Probably 10 years
that
ago
was
now, but he
different
always
was
kept
this,
in touch. I mean, he had an interesting life story too, but I won't
Right.
bother you with that. But he left me
I will, when
a few
I'm there, I
£100.
will take a
on
photograph and show
And
you.
Fox kept in touch also?
Very similar.
Fox kept in touch also?
Well,
Did Fox keep in touch with you also? I mean,
Oh yes, he came to our wedding.
oh,
this
excellent.
is
Okay.
Victorian, you know,
All right.
so maybe yours
Right.
was too.
And so now you're up and coming businessman,
I have
It
no-
was,
and you meet. When did you meet your wife?
Well,
When did you meet the wife?
an accident. Life is full of accidents.
Yeah.
This
I
is
was
their,
playing
journal.
bridge. I was a bridge fiend at that time.
Okay.
Playing
March
bridge
39.
with her brother. She
So
was
I have this
at
photocopied.
London University
The
doing French and
Berkshire
German.
Record Office.
Okay.
I
And
went
they had
to-
a ball.
I have a lot of photographs
And of course,
at
these were
home
not
that I'll
mixed.
send to
This was
you.
a women's
And
college.
here, this is
Right.
the
So men had to be
history of the
imported
school.
And your first husband
and
was
introduced to the
No, my
head.
second.
Before you could meet the women?
Oh yes.
He was,
Oh
he was
my.
from Scotland.
Very proper, very proper. You had to pass the test if you were a quality
So
guy.
that's how that
That's neat. Where was she going to school? Where was she going to school? Where was she studying?
She was studying French and German.
No, where?
Where? At London University.
London University. So I don't know this one. So, but you went to the ball, and were you immediately struck by her? I mean,
No, she was the sister of my bridge partner.
oh, okay, all right.
You know, I was imported.
Nice.
Captain Fox.
And
So
then she went on to Cambridge.
Oh, did she?
Yes.
Because she's a scholar then.
And then she taught French and German. She became head of a big department.
Oh, okay.
She did that for, but she started at age 22 or something. When she, at age 50, she decided she'd done enough of that. She started a business.
So it may have
Since she had learned how to do that from you now. What business did she start?
She started a tutorial business.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Okay. So still similar line of work, yeah.
When she retired from, I mean, she's an institution now. She's got Alzheimer's.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because I know this
How long?
boy
How long has she been in the institution?
cheated on other things, and my husband
Since,
never liked him.
well, beginning of this year.
Oh, fairly recent,
Trying to
yeah.
make him
But
back,
I mean, she's
I
not
think, in my book. So,
fully functional for the
yeah,
last
that's what
Few years.
9 or
yeah.
10 years, you know. But she was still, last Christmas,
how far have
we
you
still
got-
went to a theatre. I don't
have
think
you
she knew what was
sketched out
going
the
on, but
entire
she enjoyed the
Took her
outing.
out, yeah.
So you have the points of
how it
reference all
was.
over, and now you're filling it in.
Had a long full life, at least. She had a long full life, at least, yeah.
Yeah.
One of my great aunts passed on from.
We had a very good life.
Yeah.
I mean, I sold, well, somebody came and wanted to buy my business. Think of that, in 1986.
Those were the years of everybody buying businesses, right?
Amazing.
They were a big company. They wanted into toys.
and
Okay.
he hated it so
So
much
they
that
bought
Wednesday got
Back in 1986, so quite a while ago. Like almost 20 years ago.
Yes.
So what have you been doing for the last 20 years, Paul?
then he was in a
I was under contract to run it for them for 3 years.
Okay.
I ran it for them for 9 years.
Oh, ah.
You were lucky.
Oops.
stayed,
So,
Okay, so you only have 12 years to account for then.
in 95, I finally retired. The last few years I was chairman and only doing 3 days a week. But I was still, I used to do the Far East, you know, buying in China and Japan and so on.
but it wasn't. It was wonderful.
Tried to work this in when it was holiday time.
Understand about compromise.
I used to fly
Consensus and have
tall steerage.
And what?
I used to fly on the cheap, you
Oh,
know.
okay, okay.
And that
Stowage.
meant
What happened
plenty
to
of
him
money for her ticket as well, you see.
Oh, good. All right. So she traveled around with you to these exotic locations. She traveled with you to the exotic Asian
No, she
locations.
never travelled with me. Oh no, because I was working. But at the end of a couple of weeks of my
She would
work
join you.
there, she joined me.
Oh, okay,
And we went off for a nice holiday.
Oh, okay.
A lot of places in the Far East, you know.
Okay, yeah. Very fun. Nice.
Very nice. No, it wasn't. It was a good life.
And now you're enjoying
I was very lucky that they came and bought it because my children weren't interested. And
You have 2 daughters?
a daughter and a son.
A daughter. Oh, okay. Wait. So the one who's in London is you. Why? I think you have one in London and one in Singapore.
No,
This is
that's
grandchildren. These are the granddaughter.
No, next
Right.
generation.
Okay. Pardon me. Okay, so one of each.
They're both in London.
They're both in London. Your children.
Professor of
Okay. And they both have children. They both have children.
At York.
Well, my daughter has these 2 girls
Okay.
and my
And
son.
he ran in the 1959 election.
It's actually almost a different generation. The 2 girls are 22 and and 24.
In Dumfries.
And my sons, 2 are a boy of 12 and a girl of 9.
Oh, okay.
So we've been grandparents twice over, as it were.
Nice, nice. Okay.
But the 2 girls are
How long were we married?
They're very special to
they
you.
have both, touch wood, done very well. The
Did you have
Singapore
children?
one
No, I had 3
is
children.
on a
I think,
5-year
I see.
thing for
but because
Rolls
he was 20
Royce,
years older,
which is she got a engineering degree in Cambridge,
Oh, okay.
4 years in aeronautical engineering.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
she's working
Smart
for
girl.
Rolls Royce.
She's a
She's
clever one.
doing
Did Mel-
research on
Did the kids
the other one,
get on with each other? No.
who everybody's always
They were
regarded as a
different
good
ages?
time girl, you
Yeah, they
know.
were different
She's always clubbing. But she has actually got a
My
3-year
children
fellowship with
loved
WPP.
him.
I don't know what WP is.
WPP is the biggest advertising and marketing agency in the world, I think.
Courteous, but not
And each year,
This is the one in Singapore?
But,
no,
I mean, it's not work,
Singapore is the
Is
aeronautics.
the aeronautics.
She's
Okay.
doing some research for them at the university there.
Oh, okay.
But she's going to have,
I have 4,
theory
and
is
then
that over
when I married,
the 5 years, she will work
Lisa was 15,
on 10 different
and Ben,
projects.
her
Well, she's in Singapore.
12.
No, not in Singapore.
And,
She had a year in London,
Oh, okay.
not in London,
And
in
your
Derby,
children had
you know,
less by then.
No,
in
my
the
children
headquarters
were
In the
in Derby.
19
Okay.
and 20
On
and
different
21.
projects.
Right.
And she's got this
So
6
they were
months
very close
project in
in age.
Singapore.
Oh, okay, okay.
And,
And then we don't know where
what's
she's going.
interesting
But
is
they are
that my children
they're paying for Chinese lessons for her.
Ah, sweet. Sweet. That'd be neat.
I had
Did you
a
learn
divorce
Chinese?
in
Did you know?
19
No.
But she
just
did.
at the
She
end
did,
of
she did a year's
1960.
Chinese as a sideline while she was in Cambridge.
And,
Yeah,
she
nice.
probably-
my
Yeah.
first wife,
But I don't know whether she.
this was
So the party
10 years
girls are good to have in a marketing firm, right? Marketing thrives on party girls. That's like you want your people to be exciting, fun to represent you if you're a marketing firm, right?
Rolls Royce has got
I
a
really
big
didn't
thing in
date
China.
for about 5 years.
So now the daughter who's
He's in Singapore, is the engineer.
right. So but now where's the WPP girl? The WPP girl is here in
She
London.
has just started only
And
this
then
autumn.
one day,
She went to Bristol on her degree. And she had just
something
started
absolutely
with one of
amazing
the
happened.
advertising
A cousin
agencies
of
in
mine
London.
Okay.
She's
called
doing a
me
year in London.
and said,
We don't know where they're going to send
we are
her
having
next.
a
After that,
marriage
okay.
in the
We don't
family.
know
Will you
after that.
come
She's
to
got
New
a
York for
3-year
the
thing.
wedding?
It's a very rare
So
thing.
I said,
They only hire 10 a
time for
year.
this and
For,
Wow.
and
For the
they've got
special
something
program.
like 200 agencies. Advertising, marketing, PR, you know, it's all under one big umbrella. They're very big
The
companies.
wedding
I've never heard of them.
took place, and I stayed 2-3
Not something I
days
paid attention
later.
to.
The
And then,
recruiting practices
my
of these
cousins
companies are amazing.
The what practices?
I did
Recruiting,
not
oh, really? Really? Because they really want just the best people to represent them, right?
Well, they want
Italian restaurants.
They want
and they
a very
drank
small
about,
elite.
6
I mean,
bottles of
WPP,
wine that
and
night,
all these
and
only
by
hire 10 a year.
midnight they were very tipsy.
That's pretty selective, yeah.
So she was very lucky to get that. Well, she must be quite good too.
One assumes, yeah.
I know a
yeah.
woman in California who
She's
knows
very-
your work and would like to be in touch with you.
Very
And I
adventurous.
said to myself, these people are drunk.
She did her
And I said to
dissertation.
her,
She was
well, you know
studying
what you can do.
geography
She can write to me at the
in
university.
Bristol, which is, you know, if you don't go to Oxford or
2.5 months
Cambridge,
later,
Bristol is number
I've
3.
got another message saying
They
there'll
found
be
out,
another
I always
wedding.
say they found her
So I
out.
went
They
back to
didn't
New
take her
York
in
and the
Cambridge.
same people were there. And that night
They
was
found out-
the same
They found
story.
her out, but actually she did better. She did very well.
Okay.
My sister was
But
from-
her dissertation, she said she was
California,
going to
wants be in
Times
touch
Square.
with you. And I said, didn't you tell me that
In New
3
York.
months ago?
In New York.
And they said,
to study
yes, but
marketing and
she's too
advertising.
shy.
She went,
I said, well,
this was
I'll
a
tell
year
you what.
ago, for
I'm going
went
to
in
be.
summer vacation,
My mother
stayed at
died
the
last
University
December.
of New York.
My brothers,
You know, when they
and
were
I
letting
are coming
rooms
together in
for-
Los Angeles to look over her linens
Because she
and
wasn't
stuff and
studying
give them
marketing.
away and
What
look
she
at
was
her books
actually
and
doing
whatnot. and clean up our apartments. So we bought, it was
It's a wonderful piece
June
of work.
1950.
The Unknown People of Times Square.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
Okay.
I flew out and I met
She
my brothers. and we
interviewed the
did that.
guy who has the
And,
hot dog stand there.
Okay.
Has had it
before I
for,
left,
has had it for 30
somebody
years.
30 years, yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, still can't read all right.
Lady in Los Angeles would
But
like
his
to
kids
talk about
go to
the war.
college.
Right. Okay. Okay.
You
Okay.
know, that's America.
That's America, yeah.
And